improv.org.
Check. Ow.
Hello. Ooh.
You boys, can you hear yourselves?
Check.
I like that
Yes.
deep bow that you did, Kevin. A very nice bow toward the microphone.
Oh,
Yes.
good microphone.
You must have honor in order to do improv. Yeah. You can manipulate that thing around and move it closer to you up. You're a tall boy.
Seems like it might have been like
Strapping
a desk
lad.
lamp. It might have been a desk lamp at one point. No,
Yeah, now it's a microphone. Yeah. It's that like that Pixar animal, the light
Oh, yeah.
animal. Hey, this is No Suggestion. I'm Ralph Jean Pierre. Co-host Jake Joseph is here this week. Hello. And ladies and gentlemen, this week our guest is a gentleman that I adore. We got clown, improviser, actor, explorer, seeker of light and peace, Kevin Karpinski.
Hello.
I expected there to be applause, but it's just the three of us here.
I should have applauded. That was, yeah.
Love you.
That was on me. I really should have been there. That was a good audience whistle. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I have never been able to do that. I don't understand how.
Whistle?
Well, I
can't whistle at all.
I can barely whistle, and it took like years of constantly, like, for like years until I finally made a noise. But then the other types of whistling, I have no idea how people do that.
Let's hear it.
Well, now that
now
I'm
it's
trying
gone.
to, yeah, it's like
The
my whistling has
pressure's
stage
on.
fright. Yeah, stage fright whistling. I can barely do.
That's basically what my whistle sounds like.
Oh.
There,
Yeah.
I got a little bit there.
All right. Well, if you're feeling it, just let it out.
It's like when you try to do the same thing on a bottle, trying to make the sound on a bottle. The mouth.
Across the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, there I got a little bit of.
Yeah,
whistle.
you got a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of tone. You can
Yeah,
whistle.
do that whistle again, and I'll do the crowd.
Now it's stage
Now
fright's
let's
happening
go.
again.
Can you whistle, Kevin?
I can.
Don't do it.
I know. My mom used to whistle. That was her way of calling us home. It wasn't. She would never yell our name. She would just have this piercing whistle that you could hear blocks and blocks away.
Make sure you get the mic right in close to your.
Somehow I learned to do it without the fingers. I don't know.
Oh, you put the mic close.
Closer.
Yeah. Oh,
I can just get closer.
Okay. Yeah, or you can move it, whatever you want. That mic has to listen to you. You're the boss.
You got that mic?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to take charge in this office. You're the boss. Okay? Everybody has to listen to you. You don't need to bend or succumb to what people are doing. All right? Milton, you're the boss.
You got it.
Okay?
I got it.
Milton, I think you should.
Is that too
listen-
loud, microphone? Is that okay?
No,
yeah, that's great, Milton. You're the boss in this office. Whatever you want to do with the microphone, with anything in this studio, you're the boss, Milton.
Can you hear me over here on the side?
Yeah,
Yes, we can,
We
Milton.
can hear you. Yeah, Milton, you're going to be interviewing the head of the CDC today, and you seem really distracted. You just seem very distracted.
Well, there were these birds that flew into the engine of my car.
Don't pay attention. They're in your car, Milton. Don't pay attention to those birds. You're the boss here. That with the people who are coming in from the CDC, you have to cross-examine them. Okay? The birds are in the car.
Of course, but I just had to leave my car on the bridge, and I walked the rest of the way.
That bridge is very far away, Milton.
You're telling me.
Milton, this is all the past, and you need to think about the CDC, which is in the future.
That's 14 miles. You've walked 14 miles this morning?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
We would have towed your car for you, Milton. The CDC is coming in less than a minute and a half.
Yeah, we could have rescheduled if you would have just told us that. That it must have taken you at least 2 hours to get here.
You could have rescheduled?
Yes. We could have rescheduled this, Milton.
Well, we can't now because they're about to be here.
I don't understand how birds enter your car. Milton, you're freaking out. Milton?
I was going too fast. All right, I was speeding, and I was weaving in and out of traffic. It was
That doesn't
very dangerous.
help describe how loose birds ended up in your car. The CDC is right outside. That doesn't describe it.
Milton, how can we be prosecuting the CDC when you committed at least 4 felonies this morning?
They flew right into the radiator, and I heard the fan chop them up and feathers.
That
and
sounds
blood.
traumatic.
And my car died.
All
I was
right.
on the bridge. It was the normal height for them. I was just too high and too fast.
I just got the whistle from Janine. That means they're in the building. Okay, you gotta really pull it together.
You got to pull it together because you're in charge of this interrogation in this interview, Milton.
How does it come down to this? Everything comes down to me. Getting justice for what happened during the pandemic comes down to me.
Yes.
I have to hold them accountable.
Yes. You can't think about your car, which is 14 miles away that you walked from after you left it in the middle of a bridge because it was filled with birds that flew into the engine intake of your car. You can't think about that, even though it's baffling how that happened to you. You have to think about what's in front of you, Milton.
I'm going to take those birds and I'm going to take those moments and I'm just going to channel it into
We're
the
begging
CDC.
you, just don't think about the birds.
Don't mention the birds.
Don't mention the birds.
You can channel it mentally, but don't mention the birds.
If the law was flying at the height of the bridge when I came over it and we met, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring the law to the CDC.
Cheerio, good mate. Here to talk communicable diseases to you.
Good afternoon, sir. Please have a seat. Can I get you a coffee or a tea? We've got some talking to do.
No, I shan't be taking drinks from strangers. That's how you get the diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
You're doing good, Milton. Milton, don't. Milton.
Should we be wearing masks?
See.
What is
Yeah, good. Fantastic. So I have many things I wanna ask you about, Kevin. I feel like I recently, this is maybe almost a year ago, we got to talk about how, so you've been training as a clown and as an improviser, and what would you say your training has been in for the last few years? Because by trade you're an
electrician.
I
do lighting for film and television.
Wow. Well, okay. All right. I feel like, because I'm scrolling through the little bit of your life story that you told me while we were in Bryant Park at a brunch.
Right.
Okay.
Let's go on the carousel.
You went on the carousel? I wasn't there for the carousel.
Oh. It was right before everyone went on the carousel. I did not go on the carousel.
Why didn't you go?
I had this brilliant idea to videotape everybody or not videotape. Look at me. That shows how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
To use my camera phone and put them on slow motion. And it was spinning at a very slow rate, but it distorted everybody and captured frames as people passed, and it stretched them out like taffy. And some people went too fast and they lost their face or an arm. It was pretty wild.
That's very beautiful. Yeah, that's a nice gift.
Mm-hmm.
This was for the clown, some sort of gathering of the clown gym. Shout out to Clown Gym.
Yeah. I've taken one clown workshop there, and that was my only experience with clowning.
Oh, yes.
I liked it, though. It was fun.
Wonderful. Yeah, shout out Clown Gym. Okay, I want you to tell me, one, where you're from.
That is a question.
Oh, wow.
Hey.
We're already running into complications. Yes.
Yeah. And it isn't just Milton that's confused. I was born in the desert in Tucson, Arizona.
This is
that where I'm
epic
from?
already. I don't know. You were okay. So you were born in the desert.
Born from where you're from?
I don't know, because something many people don't know is Michael Jordan was born in Brooklyn. Nobody, it doesn't matter. That doesn't really figure into his story. He's really North Carolina and Chicago. Yeah.
Chicago would argue with that.
Yeah. Chicago wants him. North Carolina wants him. So you were born in the desert. How long were you there?
I was born in Tucson, Arizona, and I was there for a few years. I don't remember them exactly, maybe 2 or 3. I think there's a picture of me standing in a small Halloween costume as a ghost.
Nice.
And then we moved to LA, and I remember living there for a couple of years.
Is that how you get into film?
No, I was 4 or 5.
Okay.
And I remember climbing to a 3rd story. It seemed like a 3rd story. It was probably just 1 floor. Does California even have 3-story walk-ups?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I've not spent a lot of time out there. There's some high.
I have no idea. I would assume they're probably all, probably now they definitely have to be.
This was a while ago.
They got to add floors over there. They got to add some
half
floors.
a century ago.
Yeah. Okay. So you were there also in California as a kid?
Yes. Preschool, before preschool. And then moved back to Phoenix, Arizona, where we lived with relatives. And I stayed there until I was 18, I believe.
Okay.
Phoenix, Arizona, maybe is where I'm from, I guess.
How long
I guess where would you say were the most formative years of your life?
Wow.
I guess that's a difficult question.
Yeah,
I think about it.
What are the most formative years of your life?
Probably those early years before 9 that shape you and pound you and mold you into something that's going to...
See, that's interesting to me because I wonder, for me, I feel like, okay, I'm going to ask each of you this and I'll answer it also myself. Where do you think you're more oriented toward personally, as a rule or normally? Past, present, or future? Where's your mind and your heart usually? Past, present, or future?
Past. Yeah.
I have spent a lot of my life in the past.
Past, yeah. I am not past oriented at all. I would say I'm probably future oriented. I live in the future all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always living in the future.
Your whole life you've been that way?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I knew what I wanted to do with my life when I was 7. And so I've always been just waiting to get there.
Have you done it yet?
Mostly. I thought I was going to be an artist for Marvel Comics. That's what I thought I was going to be. But then that became acting and making music and comedy. But it all feels like the same thing to me. So it is interesting. So I wonder, like, I feel like if you're past oriented, then what you feel your formative years are different. Because for me, I feel my formative years are probably around when I went to no, not in the future, but around like when I went to college or even right after college. Those feel more to me like my formative years than when I was a kid.
In the past.
Oh yeah, definitely in the past. Yeah. But like, I think it moves around what part of the past. Cause I don't have, I think I had a decent childhood, but I don't think about it very much.
I guess, I don't know if you could, like, if your formative years are in the future, I don't even know what that means.
No, they're not in the future. My formative years are not in the future. That would be insanity. I would be coming back here to
that's like the snake eating its
kill
own
John
tail type
Connor
thing.
or something. Yeah.
That means you got some awesome.
No, I don't know.
Future
Yeah. No, my formative years are just not like youth.
Yeah.
Or they're not like super, super young. Those aren't the years that I think about as
I would say, I agree. I think my formative years, I would probably say, are like 23 to 29.
Okay.
Yeah.
23 to 29. What happened when you were between 23 and 29?
I guess those were the years that I first started doing improv. I was living in Baltimore at the time. And I think those were also the years that, like, where I had to relearn all the terrible things that you learned through childhood. They're like, these like lessons I learned are making me deeply unhappy. So I need to like completely reconstruct them. So I think those are the years where I did that to like be then more centered with myself. So yeah.
Yeah. How do you decide for yourself which are your formative years? Just because that's the average, or for you it's like these are the most vivid years for me?
I think I said childhood just because I am re-experiencing with making characters and shows in clown right now and trying to be present and open to impulses, maybe to outside what the audience is doing. Trying not to plan it too much. Or if I do, be ready for it to go haywire and go off the tracks, has led me to the things I do to control and to keep life in the lane. And sometimes clown just knocks the car right off the road. And, maybe that was a little bit of what Milton was experiencing. But it's recently just bumped me back into my childhood and trying to imagine myself at 6 and playing with other kids and trying to find that freedom. I found myself in kind of a dark place. And that was just tonight earlier. And,
oh, wow.
So I think I'm
just tonight.
I'm like, dang, I got some stuff to dig up here. This is scary and exciting at the same time. And I'm often drawn to what I don't like or don't want to do. I'm like, ooh, look at that. What's hiding in there?
That's a great, I mean, I think that's a positive instinct. What do I want to say about that? I have a lot to say about that, and I feel like I can't gather it. But I went through a period of my life where I was it became a rule that if I felt scared of something, I had to do it. Like there was years of my life that I was just operating by that. Just because I felt that it was where I was deficient. I felt like I was missing out on things in my life. I couldn't talk to girls.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's an example of that?
Yeah, that was really it. That was like, it wasn't anything profound. I feel like
that's profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like it's profound.
I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't.
I feel like that's like a primordial struggle for like all boys going into adulthood. Yeah. Like it's so mundane, but it is so like written into us to be afraid of that, if that makes sense.
You guys, I'm going to talk to Caroline.
What?
I am going to talk to Caroline.
She might be able to hear you right now.
Here she comes. Caroline.
Yes.
She heard me. She heard me.
I don't know what to do.
Did someone say my name?
Stand really still.
Who's in there?
Jerry, don't.
I hear whispering. I'm going to turn the lights on.
Hey, you're early for class.
Oh, I'm always early. What are you guys doing in the dark in here?
Study.
Guys, there's only one person in here.
There's only one person. It's just Caroline's in here.
Yeah, just Caroline is in here.
Ha ha ha. These voices are not in my head. My head is a very organized place.
Wow, what an empty room this is.
Yeah, what a forlong space.
Wow, what a spacious, empty classroom this is.
I'm just going to open this book and pretend like I don't hear you.
Look at us, just the creaks and skittering of mouse.
Look at us, just some molecules and quarks.
Yeah, look at us just whistling on the wind.
Just us and one human being in this room in a with pink ribbons in her hair, just studying a pre-cal textbook. Wow. Look at life.
You know, I'm not going to study pre-cal. I'm going to look at this law book about whether trees should have standing and whether or not there's. Yes, I think there is. I think trees should have rights.
I think that's oh goodness! Look at me, a molecule responding back to a pretty 14-year-old girl.
You almost blew her cover.
Sorry,
you almost blew her cover.
Her eyes are so green.
I know, but we were pulling this off. We were pulling this off,
like the Wrigley spearmint gum.
Huh? It says here when something has a proper name, it begins to beg to have rights. Like if I was to name these voices in my head. They were in my head.
Oh, no.
Which they're not in my head. They're clearly in this room.
Does Caroline know her names?
I don't think she does. I don't know. I wouldn't say that we...
I'm going to call that whispery voice Alan.
She got you.
And I'm going to call the other voice, the deeper, more sultry, kind of interesting voice, Heath.
Wow. What? We have to break our cover. We have to break our cover.
Don't break the cover.
What?
Don't break the cover.
She said it was sultry.
No.
She said it was sultry.
No. Don't break the cover.
I'm done reading.
Climb out the window.
I'm climbing out the window.
Who turned the lights out?
You're alone. You're alone in this room. She said it was sultry. She said my voice was sultry.
The window's open. Who left the window open?
Caroline, I'm afraid of heights. Scene. Oh, that was fun. Yeah, that's so interesting I don't want to paint a picture as though my childhood was not of consequence to me. But I do find that I don't think about it a lot. I don't know what that's about, but it does make sense. And I don't think I had a lot of that when I was studying clown and improv, but I started doing comedy when I was very young. I was 16 when I started. And then even before that, my sisters and I were always being silly and being funny together. So I've had a through line of that my whole life. I didn't have a beginning, really. So that does make sense to me, that you're like, oh, I remember this from this part of my life. I need to go way back there to try to match these up or take some notes or reference or something like that.
Yeah, the idea was to create reservoirs. There was an exercise before the childhood memory, or regressing back to this state, which was to say goodbye forever to the person that was closest and that you loved the most, that was alive and in your life now.
Was this a clown exercise?
It was a clown
Pachinko?
exercise.
Is this a pachinko?
I think it was. It was related to some mask and.
Oh wow!
And I had never done it, so I was like down for it. I'm like,
pachinko,
all right.
For those who don't know, is like a sort of a more mystic woo-woo form of clown that I believe was originated in Canada by a clown named Pachinko. Oh, Sue Morrison.
Oh no, yes, right. She studied. I think she
studied with Pachinko. Yeah, that's
right,
interesting.
Pachinko,
Wow. Yeah.
I guess what makes that version of clown woo-woo, as opposed to other versions of clown which are not woo-woo?
Clown in general can be very woo-woo. It can also be very technical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're learning juggling, you're learning some acrobatics, you're learning simple clown routines, and maybe you're learning some mime. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, more technical, or it can be very, just like improv, I think. Can be. I'm probably a more woo-woo as an improviser. Like to this day, I pretty much have refused to learn about game. I've stayed away from it. I don't know.
I don't know. That's so funny because I don't think there's any less whimsy in game than there is. I think all improv is woo-woo. Like, I guess, I don't know. I guess maybe in my mind, I'm like, theater is the non-woo-woo theater thing, whereas like improv is the woo-woo version of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But maybe that distinction is not real.
I feel like the exercise that we did tonight came from more of an acting place of like, I'm going to pull up my imagination or memories. Maybe it's more it really was based in personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, it's sort of maybe from that school of like, use your past to create a reservoir or a place, a color maybe that you can use if you're in a scene or in a situation to
Mm-hmm.
pull from, since you've already imagined saying goodbye forever to the person you love. And it brought it was very tearsome. I was crying, and it took a good while to stop crying after the exercise.
Chris Manley led this exercise?
Yeah.
Oh my
He had
God.
us all in tears, and then we regressed to our childhood, and everybody played, and I was kind of sitting in the corner going, oh.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but it's hard to, if you ever, maybe hopefully we'll have Chris Manley on the show someday, but
Heck yeah.
he's really like a 16-year-old boy dressed as a man. So it's very funny to think of 16 is probably too old, maybe 14. But anyway, wow, that's so fascinating. I mean, that's interesting because, yeah, that is very actor-y in a sense, but things like that are why I gravitated more toward physical theater and physical acting and clown, because I couldn't do that stuff. Like I said, I don't think much about my past. I don't avoid it, but I don't have a great memory, and I don't feel I have great reserves of emotion in my past. Some people can do that. Some people can think about their dad and instantly have a feeling and an emotion.
Well, that's exactly what the exercise was designed for, was to create the reservoir. I don't think I had one either, and I was a little resistant to doing the second part of the exercise.
I'm being. Yeah.
Or just less experienced, or you don't have that experience.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely understand both of the perspectives, but I bet there's like things that you would, in the present, need to say goodbye to or whatever. Like when I thought of like if I was going to do that exercise, I was like, oh, like yeah, I guess it's true. I'd be like, oh, like I've been thinking about my childhood a lot because I have a puppy now, so I'm like, and he's like 1 year old, so he's like 7, like the equivalent of like a 7 or 8 year old child.
What's
so
his
like
name?
his name's Freddie.
And
so like a lot of times when I'm like, what is going on with him? And I'm just like, oh yeah, he's just a little boy. Like that's all his like all of his behavior is explained by like, what would a 7-year-old child be doing? Oh, that's like what my dog is doing right now.
Yeah.
But then when you're like, oh, what is the thing that you would like have to say goodbye to? I was like, oh, that would be my dog, and like in reality, like he's gonna pass away before I am. Like I'm gonna have to say goodbye to him in 15 years. Hopefully, he lives that long. So I'm like, oh, like yeah, there is like a sense of like it could be. I wouldn't be looking to the past to do that exercise, if that makes sense, because like I'm gonna say goodbye to my dog in the future somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, the goodbye exercise was someone presently that you are connected with and have a relationship with that was very much alive and real. So it was not in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think like, I don't know. Yeah, I think like you can come at it from a lot of different angles. Yeah.
Tell us how you end up on this path. When do you first take your first clown class? Well, okay, so we've established you're an electrician for film and TV, but do you enter into that world because you're secretly thinking about performing and acting, or you just, I'm an electrician and here's a job?
Ever since I was a child, I had the idea to make and wow people with stories. And I was fortunate enough to get my hands on a Super 8 camera that my family had and dug it up out of a closet. And when it dawned on me what it was and I could start actually experimenting with it, I was, saving up for weeks to buy one roll of film and have it developed. And so I treated it very preciously and started just shooting things. And then through the linear process of film, realized like, oh, this is linear. And so there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, or there's just this. And slowly developed into a visual form of storytelling, which then later, much later in school, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And I'm like, I love film. I love visuals. I love photography. I love telling stories and showing them. And I love movies. And I was like, duh, that's what I'm going to study in college. So in a way, I did know what I wanted to do when I was little. I just hadn't projected it so far in the future that this is going to be my job. It was more organically in me. And that led me to trying to write and tell the story. And I made a number of films that were short films for college and showed them to people. And they were like, oh, yeah, oh, eh.
Oh,
and I was like,
oh no!
Like I don't have it. Whatever that is, whatever it is,
I don't have it. It's so. How do you feel about that now? I don't have it. How do you feel about that?
I feel I should have stepped up and done it then. I feel like I'm still trying to create a show. I feel like I'm still tempted to be like, you don't have it. But every time I get a laugh or every time I get a boo or I just get silence, I'm like, I'm here doing it. And I'm learning something, and I'm like, oh, this is harder later in life. But I'm learning it and I'm enjoying it, and it's scary.
I love that. Yeah. What do you feel about I don't have it, just as a concept?
Yeah, I definitely think like my early days of improv, I really felt that. Like, and I think like, because I was much more of a shy, reserved person, and it was a very challenging thing for me to do, to be in front of people like that. So I do, but now I think of it like, I'm like, oh, it's not the whether you have it or don't have it. It doesn't really matter at all. It's only like the only thing that actually matters is if you do it. Yeah. Like that's it. Yeah. So I think about that a lot. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it is the right opportunity or right chance or like whatever it is. Like if it's a meaningful action to take, just go for it anyway. But I definitely, so I resonate with both sides of like, but I think I could probably only have gotten to the place of not caring about having it by like first living through the space of like really believing like I didn't have it, if that makes any sense.
That's fascinating. Okay.
So I think it was like living through that to realize like, oh, like holding on to this belief serves nothing. Let it go. Yeah.
I think, I feel like for me, I was making art again since from 7 years old and never stopped. And I guess I was always good at the thing, I was never scared to get up in front of the class. I was always kind of funny, and I was always drawing, and I was always making comic books, and I was always being creative. It never occurred to me to think about if I had it or not, because I was like, I'm not going to stop and I'm going to do this for a living. It kind of didn't matter to me. And I feel lucky about that because it wasn't an ethic that I had. It wasn't that I decided this. I just was like, I was like, I don't want to do anything else. You know what I mean? I just was like, I have to do this. So
just like a tenacity for it. I guess.
Yeah. I feel like if somebody who was powerful or had some credibility had told me that I don't have it, I wonder what that would have done. I wonder, I probably might not have listened to them, but I don't know.
There wasn't a moment when you're like, oh, the rent's due and I'm just drawing and I've run out of money for paper and I don't have any more ink and the rent's due and I don't know what to do. I better go get a job.
That's very interesting because one, like I said, I knew what I was going to do with my life when I was 7. So I just really spent my life studying artists. So I was I've heard Judd Apatow talk about the same thing. Like I sort of knew that it came with struggle and it came with like a long time of failure and being broke. And I didn't know anything else. I was always broke. So I was just like, I was just always like, yeah, I just hustle so I can make rent and keep going. Like this.
Doing your art?
Yeah.
So you were selling your art?
No, I still don't know.
I guess by hustle, do you mean like take odd jobs? And
odd jobs.
Yeah.
Cleaning toilets and bussing drinks and whatever it is I needed to do just to be able to make enough to go and do that thing. In college, I went to a private college, which was very expensive, and I just didn't work. I was just very broke all the time because I was like, well, I can work like all my peers are doing, or I could audition for this main stage show and do the studio show and put up my own show and be an improv team and do the student film.
Wow.
Or I can have a job and have money and do stuff that's cool. And I just decided not to. I also didn't want to work. I mean, come on.
No, I didn't either. I was picking the low credits at the community college that had I had a couple of cameras and I got a 2-year degree. And I was like, oh, I'm doing this. And that's when I made those films. And then
where was this?
This was in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the Minneapolis Community College.
Wow. Wait, how long did you live in Minneapolis?
I lived there for about 20 years.
Whoa. So you've met Prince.
I've worked with Prince.
Whoa. Oh. Okay, we got to talk about this.
It's very minor.
Come on.
The best story is
I love Prince.
He just had a policy because he had a lot of people that would just stare.
He's dead now. You can talk about it.
Well, I respect him. He had a lot of people that would just gawk and stare and I think judge him.
Yeah.
And so he had a policy at Paisley Park that you can't look at him.
Whoa.
And so if he caught you looking at him, it was understood that you could be sent home.
Wow.
So
if you looked at him, he'd be looking at you like,
what is Paisley Park?
Paisley Park was his studio in Chanhassen, Minnesota that he built.
Okay.
Which is still there. And you can go on tours.
Yeah, that's his home. It's very famous. I just sucked my cheekbones in and did the peace sign on my eyes so people can imagine. Did a blue steel. Yeah, I mean, I love Prince. Wow. Okay. So, and how many times did you get to work there? Just the one time?
No, he would do parties after hours and people would come and he would have his film crew that was shooting his music video just do the lighting for the party. And, you could.
Is Dave Chappelle's recollection of Prince accurate?
I think that's
I'm not sure I've heard
Charlie Murphy's, but that he could play basketball.
Murphy. Yeah.
It was on Dave Chappelle's show.
It was on Dave Chappelle's show, but like Charlie Murphy
that he
was
could play basketball and he would make you pancakes.
One of my neighbors played basketball with him in high school and he was good. And my neighbor was competitive with him and yeah, he was like, yeah, he was good at basketball. That's just hearsay.
Yeah.
And it wasn't at the park, but, so I think he was with Warner Brothers at the time, and he was just trying to get maybe away from them or work that out. And he was just spending money to the point where he thought they'd just let him go, I guess, is the way I understood
it. Oh, wow.
He
was trying to sabotage everything and giving people work.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. So you could work 3 days straight. And like some people did, and they just racked up the overtime. And that was probably half a year's pay. And just 3 days.
I think he's probably one of the people I regret the most not getting to meet before he died. He's up there. Okay.
The closest I got to him was I was coming through a door. I opened the door and he was right on the other side. And we were closer than you and I are right now. And he's just looking up at me and I'm like looking down at him. And it took me a second to realize, oh my God, that's Prince. And we're staring deeply into each other's eyes. And I'm like, I'm fucked. And he just kind of looked at me and nodded. And I went, and I kind of exhaled or inhaled and walked past him. And I'm like waiting for the rest of the day to get fired and sent home. But he didn't, and I didn't. And I was definitely respectful. And
I could empathize with Prince's perspective. Like, I think I would, like, if a lot of my life was interactions like that, I would probably find it so exhausting. Yeah.
I almost just sent myself home. I'm like, I should just leave.
Yeah.
I should just leave.
I bet in that moment he was probably just like,
get out of my way.
Yeah. He's probably just
I'm sorry, Princess. Princess, please. Oh, I didn't see you blowing your nose. I didn't see it.
You better not have.
Oh, Princess, I did not. I didn't. I don't even know why I said that. It must have been the imaginings of my feeble idiot mind.
But you did see that I was blowing my nose.
I only came in to tidy your powder room because I thought you were out frolicking with the other dukes and princes and your chariots and your your carriages.
Don't make me break my record of firing people in one day.
Please, I do not want to be fired.
I'm gonna hide behind the curtain.
That's Matilda, and we are both going to hide behind the curtain where we can't see you, Princess. And once you're done, we will tidy your powder room to a sparkling.
You
shine.
get back here. You're standing right in front of me. You're not going anywhere and hiding.
I'm looking away from you, Princess.
The fact that I didn't know Matilda was there and they're still behind the curtain, that's fine.
Yes.
Matilda's lucky I can't see them.
Yes.
But you, I can see.
Yes. Well, Princess, I just want to...
Why are you wiggling your fingers like that? That's so annoying.
Sorry. I have a...
I'm sorry. I'm wiggling my toes. I'm sorry.
Oh, Matilda, well, I
Speak up. Say something for yourself. Explain yourself.
My name is Regine, and I am one of your ladies of waiting.
Oh my God, this is so exhausting.
Regine, a mouse is in your dress. A mouse has crawled beneath.
This mouse.
There's a mouse in my room.
It's a helper of mine. This mouse helps me to sew. I make dresses out of the scraps that I find.
Are you telling me you talk to the mice too?
I didn't mean to look at you, Princess, but I do talk to the mice.
Wait, you talk to the mice?
Yes, I sing to the birds, and they come.
Matilda, don't come out from behind the curtain, lest you be dressed down as I am.
Last time I sang to the birds, they drove themselves into the horses, and the constable had to abandon his wagon on the...
Oh, I remember that. Father couldn't find any of the birds in the dovecote. They were completely gone. And when I called them to help me sort the lentils out of the ashes, they weren't there for me.
The animals, they have their own relationship with the earth and with us. And when we come to them with respect, sometimes they may respond that way. I think you understand that, Princess.
Yes, since my stepmother and her two awful daughters have arrived, my life is just... Oh God, Matilda, come out from behind the curtain. Let's just be friends. You can look at me. That was a stupid rule. What was I thinking?
They are awful.
We're your fairy godmothers.
What?
Yeah.
Matilda,
and I've treated you so poorly?
Yes, but it's okay because we love you. Matilda has a pumpkin in her butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds painful.
It's actually not. It's not.
It's fine.
Yeah. I was kind of made this way.
We're keeping it there until the prince has a ball, and we're going to make a carriage for you to go to the ball.
Oh,
using that pumpkin.
I'm going to fall in love someday.
We're here to help you fall in love.
Your fairy godmother.
Just don't tell anybody that the pumpkin that you will have your first carriage ride with the person that you fall in love I will defecate it. I'll defecate it.
Fairy godmother, I know it'll just be covered with glitter.
Yes, it'll be turned to glitter.
It'll be turned to glitter, but when it first comes out, it'll be in a pile of refuse.
It's such a relief to tell you about this because we were going to do it without your knowing.
Oh my God.
Don't let anybody else know. Okay?
Sometimes people put the glitter in their mouths, which is perfectly safe for you to do.
I believe
we
in
make
magic.
it clean. It's clean. It's sanitary after we've prepared it, but in the beginning steps, it's pretty horrific.
I know all this talk about making magic disgusting is just to try to help me grow up and take responsibility for my life and find my identity. But I don't want to. I want to believe in magic forever.
No, it's pure fecal matter, but we'll see.
Every good improv set needs to have a budget. Needs to have a budget.
Oh my word. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But so you're in Minneapolis, you're in community college, you're taking classes, you're making films. Nobody likes them. Okay. How? And
Nobody hated them. They just didn't like them.
Okay. And from there, after about 20 years.
No. I was directing my own films, writing, directing.
But you were in Minneapolis for that time.
I was in Minneapolis, yes. I had moved there in my teens and kind of came of age there at 21 and could drink and go out.
Do you pivot? You
oh
or just kind of sidestep?
So much to this. I pivot, sidestep
to electrician.
No, not just that. Just yet. I'm like dreaming that I'm an auteur and I'm seeing all the great films and film history classes at a community college level. I mean, I think the credits were $12 a credit at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the kind of college I could afford.
And they come with a hot dog each credit?
They did. They came with a full latte.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
And,
beautiful. Yeah.
Well, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I had.
Who does?
So I sidestepped from, all right, I'm not going to be the director, producer, writer, editor, everything. I'm going to just shoot other people's films. And I started DPing and shooting other people's. One of my fellow students at the community college decided to shoot a feature, and I helped shoot that and shared the responsibilities and long nights and days making that for a couple months. And then I realized after a few years of doing that, I'm like, I have no idea what the light is doing or the shadows or where they come from or how they're made or how to control them. And it just seemed like this nebulous thing of like, there's no, clearly people control the lighting, but I had no concept of doing it. So I then started to just help other people other photographers light their films. And then I became a photo assistant. Anything that had a light attached to it, I was like, I'm going to do this and figure out how it works. And that slowly pulled me away from the creative dream of telling stories into paying the bills. And then a commercial came to town, and then there was the Mighty Ducks and different feature films. A bunch of indie films came through Minneapolis.
I think the Mighty Ducks was like probably one of my favorite movies growing up. I was like a 90s kid, so like that was on Disney Channel movies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool that you worked on it.
The grumpier old. In that capacity, I was just making headway. I think at that point I had even just become a PA and I was just handling people's luggage, but the pay was so good. I'm like, oh my God. And if I could just get on one more day, and if I could just get on one more day, and it was always one more day and one more day. And then pretty soon I wasn't thinking about making films or telling stories.
Wow. Okay. So then you get to New York somehow, and you're in New York, and suddenly the some version of that urge comes back up. Does that send you to New York, or are you already here somehow?
I come here on a Coen Brothers film. A New York crew went out there to shoot their childhood biopic, A Serious Man, and I was working with the lighting crew. Just the heads of the department came out and hired
So
locals.
around 2008?
This is 2008, yeah.
Wow.
Serious Man. Good, you nailed it.
Wow, bro. Yeah.
Came here, slept on a lot of couches, worked on Sorcerer's Apprentice, hid from the union, and then got caught by the union. And then they were like, you don't have a card, you can't be working. Went under, just kind of out of work for a while. And then they're like, hey, it's getting busy. And right around 2009 is when this whole like peak era of television started to launch. And New York has never been as busy as it's been in the last 10 to 14 years.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Which now seems to be coming to an end and sort of slowing down with shows like Succession and Severance, sort of kind of these really fantastic shows getting awards. And then, we're not seeing a lot of new shows on that caliber being proposed, and even people from the studios or the streaming services like Netflix, announcing layoffs. Like Paramount just laid off like 13,000
Oh, so the
people.
streaming era is starting to hit a lull. So now we're gonna see less shows made.
Didn't Netflix just make like a film production studio in New Jersey though?
They are still opening studios,
Yeah.
But I think they are also like now they're no longer just the studios of Hollywood. They've bought most of those. They came up in the shadows of those previous studios, and now they own those studios. But now they're international. They're huge. They're mega giant companies.
Yeah.
And they're finding it hard to sustain that. And Netflix led the way, but streaming services like Apple and Amazon and Paramount are struggling to make the kind of revenue that Netflix did.
And it may not even be, people are probably consuming as much entertainment as ever, maybe more than ever, but now there's so many networks. So, and then.
Well, I think it's like largely that like everything used to be consolidated on one service.
Oh yeah.
So like everybody was paying for the one service.
Now there's so many services.
It's like I'm not going to pay for Apple TV and Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime and like it's just like too much now.
They're all competing for a term I just learned, market share. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So, but anyway, so 2009, you're in here, you're ducking, dodging, trying to work.
I finally get into the flow, and I'm working more than I've ever worked in my life. I'm starting to make some income and pay off the debts I had accrued, sleeping on people's couches and just trying to get to New York and stay alive.
Why did you want to be here?
I was invited. Somebody said, hey, you should come out to New York. It's going to get really busy soon. And I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing, but
Did you come to New York straight from Minneapolis?
I did.
Okay.
I did. It was the 2008 was when the Serious Man was shot. And then the spring of 2009, I came out and started hustling and just trying to make that work. So, and it took a couple of years. And then I finally got into the union. But I also, so to get to the point, one New Year's Eve, I'm like realizing that I'm just working and I'm not happy. And I'm very serious and kind of super critical of myself and other people. And my life just seems very inflexible and very rigid. And I'm like, oh, I just hate the way I feel in my body. I hate the way, I don't want to go on. I think something has to change. And it's New Year's Eve. And I'm like, I'm going to be funnier next year. I'm going to make a New Year's resolution to be funny, which occurred because something that day had made me realize that I was just shitting all over comedy and how much I hate comedy. And like, oh, I can't, all the TV shows growing up were just so dumb. And why is everybody so stupid in sitcoms? And like, it just makes me cringe and embarrassed for them. And I just didn't have a comedic side. There was no one in my family that was comedic. I mean, we didn't laugh in my family. And so I thought, did you hear what you just said? You hate comedy? You hate laughing? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, that was when I started to realize, like, turn around and look into that shadowy place behind me where I keep everything out of sight. And I'm like, I gotta give me an axe. I gotta chop this door down and let all of that stuff come out. What's in there? What have I put in there? Who's in there?
Yeah.
That's me. I've lost myself. I must be in this part of myself that I can't see. And my sister's like, no, Kevin, no, you can take a class to be funny. You don't need to make a New Year's resolution about that. Just go to the improv school. And I'm like, what's improv? And she's like, like UCB or something. And I'm like, what's a UCB? Like,
who's B? Who's B that I got to see? Yeah.
Because that's
B is down the hall, and you just make a left turn, and it'll be the third door from your left.
Everybody keeps saying UCB, and I'm like, who's okay?
Yeah, you will see B if you go down the hall, make a left turn, and go to the third door.
Oh, all right. Well, we're here to learn about comedy. Came here to learn about comedy. We heard this is a comedy.
Look, I can direct you to B. I'm B's assistant, but
where's my coffee?
I can't. I don't. I have to get.
Does comedy down there?
I don't know what you're talking about. Look, if you want to see B, you can see B by going down the hall and going to the left. And
bring me a coffee in the next 10 seconds. You're all fired.
There's a lot of thumping happening.
I gotta get B C, which is a coffee. So I gotta go. But you can see B if you go down. 5, if you follow me, you can see B.
6, 7.
There's a counting happening.
Yeah, just hold on.
Let me. Receptionist, I'm scared.
Just follow me. Just follow me. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. Here's your coffee, sir.
Finally.
Your hands are as large as bears.
Who is this? Welcome to my office. I'm B.
Hi, my name is Randy. I want to learn about improv comedy.
All right. Now that you've seen B, I'm out of here.
That's a very hot coffee. You just drink it all in one gulp.
It gets me started in the day. I don't care about the temperature.
This is a massive...
What do you want to know about comedy?
I wanted to learn improv is a massive office. You're sitting behind an oak table.
Yes. This is where comedy begins, behind an oak table.
There's like a can.
Behind these large hands.
There's a trash can that you press to open the lid, but you just crushed it, and then you threw the coffee cup on top of the can.
What's not funny about that?
It's very funny, but you're very scary. You're very intimidating, and you're quite large, sir. I mean, I'm like a good 50 yards away from you. This office is massive, but
why don't you come closer?
I'm scared too.
Oh, you
smell like a horse stable. Yes, sir.
You're just what we need.
Am I?
Have you been in front of a camera before?
I have not. My sister told me that I should try improv, so I showed up here to the UCB, and I didn't realize that I see someone named B.
That's me, B. Stanley R.B.
Your face is as large as a movie theater screen.
Say something funny. Do the funny thing.
I don't know. I don't know how to be funny. I work at an Abercrombie.
Look, kid.
Yes.
Don't make me crush you like that garbage can. Do the funny thing.
Don't crush me. I didn't come here to be killed. I want to learn improv.
All right. That's it. You're going to be crushed.
Don't crush me, sir, please.
Then you better do something funny quick.
Yeah. To kick my legs.
Yeah, there you
Rub
go.
my belly.
Hey, this kid's got potential.
Oh, sir, I've got the mop, broom, and bucket to clean up the squashed. Oh, okay, you survived.
I've soiled myself, though.
You got to help yourself. Scene.
Good. Wow. So surreal, that scene. Okay, and that's okay. So you start with improv, and what do you find? Where do you go? What happens? What year is this when you take your first improv class?
I think I waited a year or two to jump on my sister's advice. I Googled it, found the class, found an intensive. I think it was 2014.
Okay.
That I finally got the guts up to do it, and I took. It was like a 4-day class, 6 to 8 hour days, and then a show.
Do you remember who your teacher was?
I do. James.
Dwyer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he came up to me. I thought he laughed at some things, and he was very blunt, very straightforward. There was no mincing words, and it was like the last day we're ending class, and we're about to have our show, and he's just giving us our time to show up for the show, and he's like, "Hey, Kevin, I've been watching you all week, and I was pretty sure you had no chance. You had no idea what you're doing, and you will never get this. But that last scene you did was pretty good. I think there's hope for you." And that was his note for me. And at the time, I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I can do it. I've got it.
I've got it.
The thing.
Wow."
Yeah. But looking back at it, I'm like, "Wow, what a thing to say to somebody!" Like, yeah, that was you're really, but I don't know, that last thing, maybe.
Wow.
But then we did the show, and it was terrifying, and I was like in the fire of it and the bombing, and then again, it was like another year or two before they said, "Hey, if you want to take level 2, you've got like 30 days to sign up for the next class." And I got hooked on the "Oh no, I don't want to retake level 1." So I started level 2, and then I was like, "Man, I better go to another school so I can get better at this school."
Right.
Yeah, I heard people have that same kind of story of,
I got to go to school so I can get better at school.
Yeah.
And then from improv, how do you find your way into the clown world where you're now occupying a lot of time?
Virginia Scott was offering
shout out the great Virginia Scott.
Yes, Mother Courage.
Yeah.
The International Commedia Day, and I showed up for that, and we played some games, and it was so fun, and there was like no thinking involved, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so much better than improv." Like we were finding so much fun so quickly, and there didn't have to be a story or a location or a who or a what. It was just funny to watch people be so dumb and silly and just full of pleasure. And I'm like, "Oh, this is, there's got to be something between clown and improv."
I am full of pleasure. I am full to the brim with pleasure.
Oh, it's oozing out of you.
Goutine, look at you. You seem replete with pleasure.
Guys, we're about to get sued. We have to go meet with the law office. You're both representing. You're both going to be representing the CDC, and we're up against probably one of the top firms in the greater Chicago area.
Touch my belly.
Touch his belly, Samuel.
Touch my belly.
Find some pleasure.
It's like a bowl full of jelly.
A bowl of
guys.
wiggly jelly.
Guys,
Yes, just put your finger right there.
you're about to be deposed. You're about to be in a deposition, and anything you guys say will be used against us in our court trial.
CDC, como se dice? Pleasure.
Guys, this pleasure thing is how we mishandled all of those STD problems.
Samuel, you look wonderful in your suit. I bet you'll soon acquire an STD from a woman. Pleasure.
Have you ever talked to a woman?
No, I never got over that. Look, guys,
Pleasure.
I
You would
can't
find
be your
pleasure.
lawyer I can't be the law firm representing you guys if you guys are gonna do this.
Don't you worry, Samuel. We'll win the case like we win them all.
With pleasure.
With pleasure.
Okay, guys, do not sing when the lawyer asks you questions.
Tequila.
You're gonna be sworn in for this deposition, so anything you could be under the threat of perjury if you say something fictitious, whimsical, or ridiculous.
Oh, what's this, Samuel, behind your ear? Ooh, it's a pumpkin. It was in your butt. See that?
Just had to call that back. Is there any callbacks to clowning?
We got them all. Okay. You tell us, Kevin, in our last minute or so here, what do you think is the biggest thing so far that you've learned in your great journey toward clown?
Whoa.
Or a lesson. Doesn't have to be the biggest. A lesson.
Oh my God.
A thing that you carry with you now from all your travels and journeys.
All right, that's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really enjoying breathing and just stopping and breathing and slowing down, listening.
Yeah.
And it's become an hourly practice of just like, oh, nothing's going on. Where's my breath?
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes, up my spine and down my spine and slowing down. It's yeah, I'm not sure that's a lesson, but it's what
I'll take
I am
that.
vibing
I
on
think
right
that's
now.
a lesson.
I
think it takes time to learn that and put it into practice. Yeah, I think that's a lesson.
Oh yeah, I'm failing miserably at it. I'm really fucking it up, but it's like, but I'm trying.
I mean,
Tell
literally,
people-
I was going to say, literally, people spend decades at like ashrams and monasteries practicing that thing yeah.
And you got it right now.
Yeah.
Tell people how to find you so they could go to your next show on the internet.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram or
Play Well
what else?
Together 33.
Yeah, and then you usually do shows where with
Right now I'm doing some musical improv that's going to be at Otto's Shrunken Head on the 5th.
All right.
March.
Good. And I'm Ralph. You can find me at preciousgorgeous.com.
I'm Jake Joseph. You can find me at Foolish Boy on Instagram.
And we love you. There's no suggestion. Good night.